You think you're remembering, you're actually rewriting. Right now, somewhere in your head, there's a memory you go back to a lot. Maybe it's a fight with someone you love. Maybe it's the best day of your life. Every time you replay it, it feels like you're pulling up the same file, pressing play on the same recording. You're not. You're opening an editable document, and every time you open it, you save a new version. This is one of the strangest discoveries in modern neuroscience, and it has a name: reconsolidation. Here's how memory used to be understood. You have an experience. Your brain encodes it, turns it into a physical pattern of connections between neurons. That pattern gets consolidated, meaning it settles into long-term storage, stable, like a photo developing in a darkroom. Once it's developed, it's done. You can look at the photo as many times as you want. Looking at it doesn't change it. That model dominated psychology for almost a century. And then, in the year 2000, a neuroscientist named Karim Nader ran an experiment that broke it. Nader worked with rats that had been conditioned to fear a specific sound. A classic setup: pair a tone with a mild shock, and the rat freezes whenever it hears the tone again. That fear memory gets consolidated in a brain region called the amygdala. Nader's question was simple but audacious. What happens if you disrupt the amygdala right after the rat recalls the fear memory? Not when it's forming, but when it's already stored and just being retrieved. If the old model was right, disrupting the amygdala after retrieval should do nothing. The memory's already baked, but that's not what happened. When Nader blocked protein synthesis in the amygdala immediately after the rats recalled the fear memory, the fear disappeared. Not faded, gone. The rat stopped freezing at the tone as if the memory had never been formed. The only explanation that fit: retrieving the memory had made it unstable again, temporarily fragile, editable. And for that memory to stick around afterward, it had to be resaved, reconsolidated, using the same kind of protein synthesis it needed the first time it was formed. In other words, every time you remember something, you briefly unlock it, and whatever happens during that unlocked window gets folded back into the memory when it relocks. This isn't just a rat phenomenon. Human studies since then, using drugs, using stress, using simple context shifting, have shown the same label window in people. When you recall a memory, especially an emotional one, there's a span of a few hours where that memory can be updated, weakened, strengthened, or subtly altered before it resettles. Think about what that means for something like an old grudge. Every time you replay the argument in your head, editorializing a little more, remembering yourself as slightly more right and the other person as slightly more wrong, you're not just thinking about the past, you're rewriting it. The next time you retrieve that memory, you're retrieving your last edit, not the original event. This is also why therapies built around exposure, like some approaches to PTSD treatment, work by deliberately retrieving a distressing memory in a safe, controlled context. The idea is to open that label window and let the memory reconsolidate with less fear attached, rather than trying to erase it, which the brain generally won't allow. It also explains something that trips a lot of people up about eyewitness testimony. Ask a witness to describe an event once, then ask them again a week later, after they've talked to other people or seen news coverage. Each retelling is a chance for outside information to slip into the unlocked memory. Courts and investigators have had to build entire protocols around this, because a memory retrieved and discussed enough times can end up quite different from the original event, while still feeling completely accurate to the person remembering it. So, if you've ever wondered why an old memory feels different than it did years ago, sharper in some places, blurrier in others, colored by things you know now that you didn't know then, this is why. Your brain isn't a filing cabinet. It's more like a document with version history that only shows you the latest save. The unsettling part is obvious. Your memories are less fixed than they feel. But there's a hopeful flip side, too. If memory can be edited during retrieval, that means the emotional weight of a memory isn't permanently fixed either. The story you tell yourself about your past is, quite literally, a living draft. And living drafts can be revised for the better. If this reframed how you think about your own memory, drop a comment with one memory you think might have changed over time without you realizing it. And subscribe for more videos on the hidden science behind everyday experience.